Okay, being called to order, 6:49 p.m. Unfortunately, we don't have enough senators to meet quorum tonight, so we will be amending the agenda and tabling the resolution that was supposed to be voted on tonight, and also come for the confirmation of one of our senators. So this will be a purely informative meeting, and we're sorry about that. So we'll start off with reports, or actually I'll just do roll call. President Ganda. Present. Director Ahmed Ghani. Absent. Director Khan.
Present.
Director Salisbury.
Present.
Director Redwaj.
Present.
Director Denson.
Present.
Director Ogle.
Present.
Vice Chair Senate Chakraborty.
Present.
Senator Gurley.
Present.
Senator Carter.
Present.
Senator Odira. Senator Bezer.
Absent.
Senator Muhammad.
Absent.
Senator Smith.
Absent.
Okay, moving on to director reports, starting with President Ganda.
So I'm going to read Anshika's Srivastava resignation letter. So it is a regret that I resign as a senator in student government. It was not an easy decision to make. Being a senator for almost 1 year and a half has not only bolstered my leadership skills, but also gave me a chance to make great friendships. It gave me a chance to make a positive difference on campus. It was hard to come back this semester as a senator, as I'm juggling with 18 credits, jobs, and my own health issues. Since this is my last semester, I have to focus on my studies and prepare for medical school. But don't think I'm going to distance myself from SG. I will still be there to help with events and promote SG amongst the student body. Thank you for your search. Thank you for such a great experience. And then this week I met with Registrar Karen Arnold about scheduling my degree plan workshop, which will be held possibly Thursday, March 14th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. So from this workshop, students will learn how to utilize my degree plan to its full potential, learn about personal planning and how advisor utilize the same tool. For this workshop, we'll have Karen Arnold, India Hager, and an advisor from Student Success Center. Flyers and emails and more details will be given out in the next few weeks. Next, Vice President John and I met with Martha Matlock about a possible partnership with Housing for Late Night Breakfast. So we're looking at this partnership as a way to possibly improve, bring your own books, to provide food to students, and to expand possibly late night breakfast to all students. And for this initiative, we might have to reach out to the Division of Student Affairs. And then I also met with Jen Hogan in regards to Yo-Yo Ma's visit to Flint. So as part of his residency at UMS, Yo-Yo Ma will host a special talk in Ann Arbor on February 27th. Flint students are welcome and encouraged to attend the lecture/performance on that Wednesday, February 27th at 7 p.m. in Hill Auditorium. Ma's presentation will focus on the role culture can play in helping to create a better future, drawing on his experiences as both musician and citizen. Jen Hogan has approximately 20 to 30 camp tickets and a bus ride for students to the lecture and performance. So if we get more than 30 students interested, the ticket price will be discounted to either $12 or $20 depending on the seat. So the next day, which is February 28th, there will be a community cultural showcase hosted by Ma at the historic Burson Field House, which is a 1923 building that offers athletics, arts, education, classes, and social services to Flint community members. The showcase will feature a wide spectrum of performances and a presentation that show of Flint vitality, diversity, and art history, and tell Flint's story in new ways. On that day, on the 28th, we'll need volunteers from 2:30 to 7 to greet, direct, and welcome people in. So anyone that's interested in this, in volunteering, please email Jen Hogan if you get interested. And all this will be posted on SG social media. I yield.
Thank you. So I don't have a lot to report on today. The one thing I wanted to mention is the Greater Flint Health Coalition is putting on a focus group at the Flint Farmers Market tomorrow from 12:30 to 2. It's going to be an informational focus group about healthcare coverages available to residents of the Flint area. If anyone's interested, they're right here. There's a couple flyers here, and I think you get $25 gift card if you show up for the entire event. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, the parking committee meeting will meet on February 20th. And with that, I yield to Director Khan.
Thank you. So yesterday, we had our funding board meeting and we approved 3 BSOs. Those are National Association of Black Accountants, the Anime Club, and Michigan-Flint Bass Team. So after approving those 3 BSOs, we rejected, in fact, one request from the art box because the requested amount was for the promotional items, which are basically restrictions as per our charter of the funding board. So we rejected the offer, but still we have instructed the group to reapply and apply again so that we adhere and to maintain the rules as per the law of the funding board. And finally, in our funding board, we have $14,803 remaining for the remaining of the semester. With that, I end.
Thank you. President, Director Salisbury.
Aside from just maintaining social media presence for student government, it's creating documentation and flyers for the Chancellor Search Committee in accordance with university marketing guidelines. That has been distributed digitally already, as far as I'm aware. It's posted on social media, and I believe it's already been sent via email, but it will be passed along to Faith for verification through UCOM standards, and then it may be printed out as well. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Director Birdwatch.
So we had meet and greet today. Didn't expect, the turnout wasn't as expected, so I would be discussing with SG members of maybe moving around meet and greets or even different methods. If you have any comments or concerns, please let me know. Our committee is working on resolving the concerns that we had submitted last semester. As of right now, I will be reaching out with my committee to extend the part 2 of the surveys by second week of March and get out to at least 100 students again. And I've decided to write the letter to student body only once all these issues are resolved, depending on how many issues we still remain. Most of these concerned with student safety, food services, and administration level commitments. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Director Dodson.
This Saturday, me, Vice President Jara, Director Oval, and President Gounder are going to Dearborn for the United Student Governments in Michigan Conference. So hopefully that week we'll have some things to bring back to report to all. For the Students of Michigan Committee that we formed with Ann Arbor and Dearborn, we set a tentative date for the 23rd of this month for our first meeting. And then an update from the One Youth Campaign coalition meeting will be held here in Flint on February 28th from 4:30 to 6. Once a room is determined, I can get that out to you. If you're interested in going to that, or you know anyone who may be interested in learning more about the One Youth Campaign, please refer to it.
Director Oval.
So this week, I have been working on the attendance and party section of the USC, and I pretty much finished up with all of the changes that I planned on making to that section. So over this weekend, I'm going to email that to everyone in student government to look over, so that it can be kind of discussed next week, and maybe we can vote on the changes next week. We'll see how that goes along. I also plan on looking through the USC to see which section I want to start revising next. I'm not quite sure which section is going to be optimal to, or most in need of revision yet, but that will be my task for the next week. That I yield.
Thank you. Vice Chair Senate.
Okay, so first of all, regarding the caucus, I made a list of questions for the survey to call to the German student body. I did talk to the advisor, what questions I had, and I shared my questions with the senators. We also talked about the best medium to use for the survey. Blackboard seemed to be generally a good idea, but there are still a few things that need to be done before it can be sent out to the students. Also, I have update from the Director Ahmed. She has been working on the fire pit. The prizes are finalized, and now she is working on food options from Picasso. That I use.
Thank you. Senator Odira.
I was able to finalize my caucus this week, so I'm hoping to coordinate with the what's it called, the Women's Center this week as well, alongside PAPS. So, yeah, that's all that is.
Thanks. Senator Carter.
I attended a university committee this week, the faculty advisory committee. It met on Wednesday, and after reviewing the previous meeting minutes, the committee discussed the scholarship application process. I do have something for so. I need for my labor, switching to my caucus, for my labor rights event, I've been meeting with Professor Kazanowski about any potential speakers we could get for the event. And he recommended retired UAW President Bob King to be a speaker at the event. A date, place, and time for the event has also been finalized and will take place March 21st, 4 to 5 p.m. in French Hall, Manila.
Thank you. Are there any other reports? Vice Chair.
These were received by Director Ahmed. So there's one for Mohammed Badr and one for Senator Mohammed. May I read them? So this is from Senator Badr. He had a brief talk with Dr. Snyder regarding his caucus and in regards to adding himself as student rep on the committee she's on. They are set to have a formal meeting. In regards to fire pit, he talked to Faith. She's going to run the prizes by accounting and check if he can be a judge. And apparently she asked him to talk to Dr. Snyder about that. This is Senator Mohammed's report. After putting on the Student Organization Summit event on January 18th, 2019, I had a feedback meeting with Chris. We talked about the strong points of the event and also the weak points. For this, we used qualitative and quantitative data that we got from the students who presented the event. Most of the complaints or drawbacks about the event was related to the food options and also the time frame for this event. A good number of students complained about long hours required in order to be in attendance of this event. The event went on from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. These are all the problems that could easily be looked into and solved. Many of the students enjoyed the sessions as well as the guest speakers that we had. They thought the 4 sessions were engaging and informative. The guest speaker, Dave Coleman, was motivational for the students. The overall takeaway from the event was that it gave most of the student organizations we have on campus an avenue to network with each other and get to know the other organizations on campus and how they can help each other. During the lunch session, the guest speaker facilitated a panel that consisted of students who were brought up to talk about the problems they run into with the student organizations that they're involved in. He encouraged the students from the audience to help them with the suggestion on how they could solve these problems. This allowed the students to have conversations about the similar problems they run into as students orgs and find ways they could solve it. There was also some time during the lunch panel that was allocated to student organizations talking about their upcoming events that they wanted other organizations to collaborate on. So they stood up and described the event, and any organization that was interested in collaborating for the specific event would then except to collaborate. Many organizations share the events, and also many organizations accepted to collaborate on these events. With that, I will.
Thank you. Any other reports from senators or directors? Okay, moving on, we have a guest speaker tonight, so I now leave the floor to Dr. Ken Litwin from the Criminal Justice Department.
Thank you for inviting me here to talk with you for a little bit about. Is it okay if I do that, please? I just want to talk a little bit about something that just went through, came from Ann Arbor this month. It was emailed to everybody, I think, on February 4th. A new policy that requires disclosure of any felony charges and or felony convictions to the university for any employees. Down here it says employees who are students, I think the faculty, staff, student employees, and volunteers at the university. I'll just briefly say I have two things to show you, two documents. And this first one was, I think there was a link to it in the email that was sent to everybody about this policy. The second one is an open letter to the university that was drafted by faculty members down in Ann Arbor. Yesterday, there was a town hall meeting in Ann Arbor to talk about this policy, where it came from, what it means, the impact that it could have on people and already maybe is having on people. And one of the things that they concluded was we don't know exactly how this got through and who, there wasn't any discussion among faculty. There's a number of faculty there at our campus, at Dearborn's campus, that have some expertise in the area of these types of policies. And basically, I'll just talk a little bit about this policy, and it's showing that we need to, anybody must report to the university if they've even been charged with a felony. You can read this document. I emailed it as a PDF, and you can send it, and I hope that you'll send it to organizations. I'm here to try to get the word out of what's going on to students and to faculty and to staff and to community members who might be concerned about this too. When we were talking, there was a faculty member in Ann Arbor who was saying that he thinks students are going to be the driving force in this. That if there's enough outcry by students, they can change policies. There was enough outcry by students in Ann Arbor about the cold weather and them not canceling classes, and they canceled classes. So because the students do have a lot of power, and we have a lot of power here. You have a lot of power as students here, even at at the Flint campus, at the Dearborn campus, Ann Arbor. So what they're saying, you need to go to this location, self-disclose if you've even been charged with a felony, which one of my first thoughts was, if I'm charged with a felony, if anybody's charged with a felony, I'm just trying not to have a heart attack. I'm trying to figure out, what the heck is going on and what am I going to do? And then they're saying that you need to do this within 1 week. They don't explicitly say what will happen if you don't do it within a week. But they're saying that there could be things that they can have disciplinary actions up to, and including termination if you fail to disclose this information. So this document just talks about the process, and there was also a discussion about, who's going to look at this information, what are they going to do with it. There's no transparency in even how this policy came into place and how it's going to be applied. So you can look at this document, you have the link to it, but this is something new that was drafted February 12th, which was just a couple days ago. There's a Carswell State project at the University of Michigan, and the people on the steering committee drafted a document, a response to this policy that expresses some concerns with the policy. And with this link to it, they do document and identify a couple of reasons why they have concerns about this policy. And they have citations of research that's showing that these are not good predictors of making campus more safe. So they document a couple of these things, that there's looking at the research is saying that it's not clear evidence that it produces a safer environment, and it in fact has devastating consequences for marginalized groups and impacted individuals who are disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system. It discourages highly qualified candidates from seeking admission and employment. We already have criminal background checks for employees at the university, which we kind of fought and we lost that one. But but that doesn't mean that that this one won't be something that we can do something about. If you choose, if you think that that's something that's important to do. So concerns about what it really does, and it doesn't really seem to, based upon the empirical evidence, really lead to a safer environment. It just leads to more surveillance and exclusion rather than inclusion and diversity. So there's a number of things that they're identifying as these concerns. And then towards the end of this document, I pulled out my okay. Yeah, so then these are the individuals that are on the steering committee that drafted the document. I sent a PDF, and I'll be able to send it to students. And if you would like to sign it, if you'd like to see who signed it, here's the footnotes with the citations. There's links to articles, to books that are responding to some of the concerns. So, does anybody have any general questions, or I just want to be able to share this with you and let you share it with students, organizations, other affected parties or interested parties.
So I now open the floor. Director Rush.
If I may, can you identify a few of the reasons why you're or the faculty is against this? What is the major concern with the policy?
There's a couple major concerns, and I'm not speaking on the part of the faculty either. I'm just speaking as an individual faculty member. But some of the concerns are the lack of transparency in how this policy was even drafted, who was included in the discussion, and how it came to be approved and then applied. And then now it's in place. So, and it's been in place since the beginning of this month. So technically, if somebody has been even charged with something, and you haven't reported it, you're not in compliance, and you could be terminated from a job here. So the lack of transparency in how this was even drafted, for one thing. A big concern that I have is really anybody can be charged. There's charges that are filed every day. There's charges that are dropped every day because of insufficient evidence. And so, and really, it concerns me that if somebody really has a reason to want to get rid of somebody where they work, and they can try to falsify something, if they can get a prosecutor to file charges, whether they are substantiated or not, or whether they, and that's a big concern. That we have this process, this judicial process, that even is questionable as well. There's, the Innocence Project has identified a number of individuals who have been falsely convicted, and a number of the cases where they've been overturned because of DNA evidence that shows that this is not the person that was there. So concerns about those issues, and then just the concerns about looking at overrepresentation segments of the U.S. population in terms of people that are living in poverty, people, African Americans being disproportionately represented in the system. It's a way that can potentially indirectly use social class and race if it's seen as being biased within the system in any way, an indirect way of bringing those kinds of categories into decisions about how to treat people on campus. They did have an individual student that was there. He had his bachelor's degree and he was thinking of applying to a master's degree program. And he said he's afraid to do that now because he has a felony offense. Technically, how the system is already set up, they do background checks, and he can still be excluded regardless of this policy. He's still, concerned about that. But those are some of the main. And they articulated in more detail in this document if you wanted to look at it.
Senator Craig.
Okay. Yes, do you know when this policy is going into effect, or if it's already it is in effect?
Yeah, it is in effect now. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Director Dunphy.
So I know that you said the university does like background checks when they hire faculty members and things. Do you know that they do continuing background checks, or was there ever a self-disclosure requirement for convictions prior to the software?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, with the background checks, they'll look at up to the point of that check being done, but there's nothing to say, oh, you have to be subjected to annual background checks to see if you're, what your status is. So this is new.
Okay, so a question that I had was, you mentioned the fact that there was lack of transparency in regards to the implementation of them putting it together. So I guess, do you know anything of, did this stem from a particular case where there was an employee or a faculty member or a student who maybe, I don't know if it maybe threatened someone, the fact that they found out maybe they had a felony? Do you know of a case that stemmed this to be created?
And that was part of the discussion at the town hall meeting. People trying to figure out, okay, so how did this happen? Was there something? Because, and I don't really know a lot about this, but they were saying that there were some cases of sexual misconduct within a particular department involving faculty and students in Ann Arbor. And they were wondering if that was something that maybe moved this type of policy into place. But they were again saying, even with this policy in place, they would have done nothing to protect people in that situation because nobody was accused of anything. Nobody was charged with anything. Somebody else suggested maybe the Larry Nassar case at Michigan State, but then the same thing. I mean, it went on for years with no charges and no conviction, so it wouldn't have done anything in that situation either. So, yeah, we're just wondering, and at that meeting, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. But there is one person that is a member of the steering committee who said that they have a meeting with, I believe they said the provost in Ann Arbor. And so she was going to find out maybe some more information. We're all trying to figure this out together, because I'm glad you asked that,
So, for this similar sort of policy, other Michigan universities have?
That was another question that was asked at this town hall meeting that people weren't sure about, and they said, well, we need to explore this. But one of the concerns, regardless of whether it's happening at other universities, is that the University of Michigan is probably the most well-recognized university in the entire state. It's well-recognized nationally and internationally, and there's a concern that when the University of Michigan institutes policy, that others will say, oh, it must be a good idea. They were concerned about, and so that was one thing. And all of this was all happening last night, so I haven't even had a chance to really look into this. But yeah, that was a question. That's another good question that we don't have an answer to. But anybody is encouraged to look and see and find out that information too.
Director Salisbury.
So as a point of clarity, does this affect the general student body or student employees specifically? It's
Student
my understanding that it'd be
employees.
student employees.
Yeah, so student employees.
Okay.
One more question. I guess I understood what you meant in regards to there are people who have been wrongly, um, convicted. I come from a police family. I understand in that regard. I'm also thinking about the other side, about since this affects employees and student employees. I think about the fact that as a student who may be around them, as a person who may work amongst them, I feel, can you explain more about, I don't know, how you feel it could be a privacy issue or kind of more, if you could explain more of what you feel, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this and all I feel is if you have a felony, although there are a small percentage of individuals who are wrongly convicted, that felony a lot of times happened for a reason, for an action that that person did that was against the law. And I'm sitting here and I'm wondering that by disclosing this, maybe by applying to school, by disclosing this information that yes, this has happened to me, I have received this felony because of X, Y, and Z, is maybe it doesn't change the scope of the campus environment and atmosphere. However, do you feel that it could help in regards to letting people know that this has happened? Now that person ultimately is in charge of their life, this could happen to them, but they can, move forward if they so choose. But having a felony is not a small misdemeanor. It's a big deal. And so I do feel it is important to realize or maybe explain more of why you feel that this may not be necessary.
Yeah, and that's two different things too, like looking at background checks and what people have done in the past, and this is more what's happening right now. And felony offenses, I mean, we typically think about the violent crimes and things like that, but possession of substances, possession of marijuana, at the federal level is a felony, but not at the state level. So possession, I mean, is that something that's severe enough to maybe limit somebody's opportunities? There's been a movement to ban the box, to say that this box, if you check this box, that you have been convicted of a felony. And some universities have been moving away from that and saying that it's not something that seems to ensure safety on campus just because you check a box that you've been convicted of a felony. And that's like ever been convicted. That's 20 years ago for some people. One of the professors there was talking about research that was done on people that have been convicted of felonies and were released on parole. And they were tracking individuals and saying that it's an individual and the risk of reoffending. And saying that once individuals have gotten past 4 years without any new offenses, their rate of offending is about the same as the general population. So why don't we after 4 years say, okay, background check up to 4 years or whatever, something like that. That's not directly answering your question, maybe, but it's getting at some of the concerns about, and even if people are afraid to apply, like this one student was saying, he has a felony conviction, he has a bachelor's degree, he wants to go to graduate school, he doesn't know if he should apply to the University of Michigan. He wants to be in social work. He wants to go for his master's in social work, and people are saying, well, it's good that you maybe have more experience and understanding of the system to do your job. Not that we want people to have felony convictions as something on their resume to put on, but it's not something that's the best predictor of how dangerous somebody is. There are clearly cases where you would want to maybe be concerned, especially with the application and job, what that felony was. Is it similar to, is it embezzlement? Then maybe we don't want you in the accounting department or something like that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from directors and senators or from the public? No? Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any other questions too.
Thank you. Moving on to university committee reports. Are there any university committee reports?
Okay. Okay. Faculty Advisory Committee met on Wednesday. After reviewing the previous meetings, the committee discussed the scholarship application process. Specifically, the committee discussed how best to inform students that it might be the extra steps to qualifying for such scholarships after they send in the general applications, things like having required hours of volunteer workers or being employed on campus. Various methods were discussed on how best to inform students by either sending it out of mass email to students who are not of it, to individually target students with specific emails for them on what scholarships they specifically qualify for and what extra steps they have to do, or just leave it up on the website for students to figure out on themselves. Ultimately, it was decided that a mass email would be best, but as the stuff where the scholarship application program currently uses does not support targeted emails, and a mass email was already sent out on Tuesday from Mark Simon, in case people want to look for it in their email boxes. The committee also decided that the reminders will be spread on the university's social media pages. The committee then talked with interim provost Alka to discuss the civic engagement course implementation grants, which are grants for professors to implement more community outreach in their classes. There is some concern among the faculty present about whether these grants will be renewed yearly or if this was a one-off thing. There's also concerning especially with the low number of professors who applied for them as it was apparently a limited promotion of the availability of the grants. Discussion then moved to the ongoing Carnegie designation of the university, and work continues on the application to renew our community engagement designation.
Thank you. Any other university committee reports? Director Denson?
The Enrollment Management Committee met on Monday. Most of the discussion was about the SAT scores and GPA requirements for merit scholarships. There's a lot of data that shows the probability of success for a student may be more closely related to high school GPA than their SAT score. So the committee is considering a new scale which would adjust the necessary SAT scores for a lower number but increase the required GPA. The committee does want to be mindful of faculty governance while they make this decision, so the plan is to take this to the different faculty members in each department and get feedback from them before they make their final decision.
Thank you. Would
Yeah, I was just going to speak about the AAAC meeting on the ACT, SAT score thing, how they wanted to lower the score and higher the GPA. So yeah, with that idea.
Thank you. So yesterday, a record budget committee met, and we talked about the interim report as not being as successful as the past semesters, and most likely Irving will be moving the days from Fridays to Thursday nights to increase participation. And as for the ice rink, they've been named one of the 10 outstanding outdoor rinks in Michigan by Pure Michigan. And just a reminder that we have free open skate from noon to 4 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, 5 to 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, and 5 to 8 p.m. on Fridays. Skate rental is available for just $3. March 3rd will be the last day to skate, so we still have like a couple of weeks left. January 24th was the Health and Fit Fair, and we had approximately 300 people with good students participating in that event. We have the inclusive locker room. It's up and running on the lower level. It's like in the midway to the pool. So another thing, the rec submitted a proposal to increase the rec fee, and it is because they've been impacted heavily by enrollment. So if the proposal were to go through, they'll be forced to reduce hours of operation, cut on the numbers of free fitness classes, as well as programming, and it might also affect employees. And we are you.
Anyone else have a university report?
I believe this is from Director Mohammed. It's about the academic assessment fee. So, reporting activities, 6171 HLC is ready for web presence. 7 new reports to date. They need to revisit the touch points, goals of academic assessment committee. Incremental program improvement, engage in informed assessment discussions at program level, foster data that is manageable, comprehensive, and sustainable, increase focus and visibility of learning outcomes. When students know what is expected of them, they tend to focus their study time and energy better, communicate expectations to prospective students and the public, increased visibility of assessment activities and to the understanding that it is needs to demonstrate institutional effectiveness and not a cumulative process. And they're working on simplifying the curriculum mapping program.
Thank you. Any other university committee reports? All right.
Does Director Salisbury have anything for the technology committee?
They have not met yet, but there was a proposal sent via email to that committee to discuss the Google Migration Advisory Board notes in the tech committee to raise broader awareness for the Google migration for faculty, staff, and students. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Advisory report. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. No report? Okay.
Just keep an eye out for Meet the Candidates, starting in February.
Okay. Before I yield the floor to anybody from the public, is there anyone else that wants to say anything? Senator Carter?
Applications for the general scholarship application are due tomorrow, and extra requirements needed, such as proof of volunteer work or employment, is due on the 22nd.
Thank you. President Gandhi?
So we have intramural sports tournaments coming up. Specifically, the badminton tournament this Sunday from noon to 4. The rec center, you have to have 12 teams limit. It's free, and the deadline was today. Chess tournament is next week, Thursday, February 21st, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. 16 players is the limit. It's free, and the deadline is Monday of entry. The spike ball tournament Sunday, March 17th, from noon to 4 p.m. and 16 team limit. It's free, and the deadline is Thursday, March 14th. Oh yeah, March 11th, there's a nap day in Happening Room. We got that yield.
I had a question from Director Denson. The One You campaign, is this about the tri-campus equality, or I'm not sure?
Yeah, so they came into the presentation earlier, maybe last semester. And it's about trying to create a more equitable situation, at least finance-wise, with Michigan-Flint and Arbor, and trying to kind of get them recognized as one university on the state level, because there's some differences in funding from the state legislature.
And was this on February 28th or 26th?
28th.
Thank you.
Advisor?
Since you can't be at the badminton tournament on Sunday because you missed the deadline, if you enjoy the theater, I have free tickets for We Shall Overcome at the lighting at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Please stop by and see me before you leave.
Vice Chair?
All right, I'm going to do this for Director Madani because she isn't here. So Seriously, guys, send her the reports. Please. It makes life a lot easier, okay? Done.
Thanks, Ari. Anyone else have anything they want to say, or rant, or vent?
It's too cool.
It's too.
No? How about anyone from our audience? No? All right. Meeting adjourned, 7:35.
You did. Can you give me a list of the call?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.